in law, from my experience, it's a tough gig. It's a tough career. You have to have a huge amount of stamina. And I think for anyone who perhaps needs, I don't know, special adjustments or a different working plan, maybe it's because they've got kids and they're, it doesn't matter, they're a woman, they're a man, whatever, they've got kids, they've got other things to balance, or maybe they've got disabilities. I can see that it's a huge challenge, And I think we're seeing it more. It's interesting coming out at the moment. There's a lot of stuff which I feel like is really recent around, for example, neurodiversity, and people speaking up about the needs there, and actually how things need to be done differently to make sure that, it's more of a fair playing field and everybody has the chance to excel, and it shouldn't all just be done in one way. I think the problem that I've seen a lot of the time is that people are so overstretched and pushed in law firms. It's just sort of whoever can keep going the longest and work the hardest, that they're the ones who seem to do very, very well. That's historically. I think things are changing now. But because of that, it means anyone who is sort of unable to just keep up with that kind of pace ends up suffering more. And I think that's why, for example, in the Law Care survey and many other surveys, we see, for example, women, people with disabilities, people from ethnic minorities, all of these things, they suffer more from burnout and from seemingly mental health issues, which I think, given that backdrop, it does make sense to me.
No, we're touching a lot of interesting topics here. So if we sort of backtrack to the image of the successful lawyer being portrayed in media, that's the professional mystique of lawyering, which is, of course, a middle-aged white man, which is supposed to be the epitome of successful lawyering. And then in particular, if you have like a brutish partner, that has to be a very successful person. But if you look into the research on what are the traits that are associated with success in research, you don't find that at all. I mean, there are obviously partners out there that are that are brutish, but they are successful despite their lack of social intelligence and being able to lead themselves properly and being able to connect with other people and so on. So research is really supporting a much more humanistic person, still being conscientious, ambitious, competitive, and so on, but also someone who is a team player, who's able to rally the team and support the team and so on. So I find there's a lot of encouragement when you look into that research. The problem I see is that everyone unconsciously is discriminating. So you have, of course, the seniors in law firms discriminating, you have clients discriminating, you even see female associates in law firms discriminating each other. So I saw one study in which all the lawyers were asked to sort of rate a couple of colleagues. And so the males were rating the females lower than males, and the females were rating the females lower than males. But we see no support at all that female associates would be less effective than the males. If anything, there are indications that they're even more effective than the male ones. So there is really no support for that. And then you have, of course, the minorities and what comes with that. So, I mean, the most typical stereotypical example is if you have, if you're a non-white female who is a petite person and you sit with a client and the client is asking, when does the lawyer come? You just automatically assume that you're an assistant because you're not that big white male, that you're expecting to see. And so there are a lot of problems when it comes to that. And then at the same time, when you look into research, what are clients really looking for? And now we're talking business law. We're not talking criminal law or family law. We're talking business law. They do look for people that are listening to them, that are interested in them, that are not just sort of reloading, delivering, shooting legal expertise. They want to connect, they want to be seen, they want to be heard. But then many business lawyers, when you ask them, what do you think that clients want? They often respond, well, they want someone who's punctual, who's upholding the confidentiality, who's providing a successful legal strategy, and so on. They always focus on the legal expertise being provided. But that's not really what clients are prioritizing. They expect it, but in the room when you meet someone, it's the quality of the relationship that is much more decisive. So it's very conflicting with, on the one hand, you have the systematic discrimination, and then on the other hand, you see a lot of support for a much more humanistic lawyering style, even in business law.